This device is over 40% less than the Samsung Galaxy S5. And you start to talk about value. I mean, this thing's fantastic. It has wireless charging built in, has fantastic camera with the optic image stabilization that Nokia is known for, PureView technology. And so, the screen is gorgeous on it, very thin, light, and you offer it at 40% less. So to me, it's this aspirational consumer. And here you talk about, youth, what is it, 80%? 80% under 34 years of age, but they're aspirational. Yet they also, are constrained with the pocketbook. And so I think this gives them everything that flagship has at a significantly lower price. So your question is absolutely, but it's not the strategy, it's part of the strategy.
So you'll be offering more, like basically the same price point for the 930 in devices. You'll have devices like that moving forward in the future.
I think the way you should think about it is we will have the premium flagship devices like the 930, right? That will be competitively priced against the iPhone, Galaxy S5, those. But now this segment, what I'll call value flagship, I don't know if that's the right term, that's the way I think about it, is how you take all that goodness at the high end but make it a much more affordable price point. That is definitely an intentional strategy by us, and you see that with the 830. And then in the affordable smartphone segment, we're doubling down the investment there in portfolio to grow share, scale, et cetera. So it's all three of those. That's key in the strategy.
It's funny that you mentioned affordable market segment, because Microsoft as a company has actually partnered up with one of the local companies here that's offering Windows-based phone, which is really it's actually the most affordable Windows phone in the world. And it's basically directly competing with your Lumia 520, which is basically trying to work in the same price point. So that's under 5,000 pesos.
But here's the thing is, I don't view the other Windows phones as competitor. The competitor is Android and iOS. And so if we have two devices in the same price point, there's plenty of opportunity to capture share. And I'll go back to just the size of the market here. 15% of the population has smartphones. So the fact that there's two devices at the same price point, one from us and someone else, that's actually a good thing. That is not our competition, trust me. Our competition is Android.
From the perspective of since when Nokia basically became one with Microsoft, has your market share increased? Has it decreased? Or
I won't comment on it, but you can look at the
IBC.
Yeah, you can look at the third parties and do that, but I won't comment per market, et cetera. What I would say is, and again, it doesn't answer your question exactly, so I'm not trying to massage the message. I'm just saying we can't give you exactly what you're looking for. But do I feel good on the value proposition? Do I feel good we've made significant progress on one of the biggest inhibitors, which was apps and the ecosystem? Absolutely. There's plenty more work to do on all those fronts. But as I said, I think we have a great value proposition. I'll call it the opportunity, because I'm a sales guy, but it's the challenge as well. How do you tell that story at scale? And as I said, I think if I had one-on-one, I can show you this, but we have to do it at scale there, and that is the work that we do. I don't think you'll ever be in front of me where I say, hey, we've figured that out and addressed it. We're going to be better today than we were yesterday, and we're going to be better tomorrow than we are today, and that is the work. But as I said, as a sales guy, having that value proposition that I think is differentiated, unique, and compelling, that is important. If you didn't have that, it doesn't matter how you tell it. The challenge for us is how do we tell that at scale, and that's what we're working on.
What's the core message that you will give to someone to pick Windows Phone over Android or iOS?
I think, so let me just take either one of those. I think the value proposition is greater there. And so you could say, and so let me just start with like the 830. The price-value ratio, I think, is significantly better than anything in the market today. I mean, you get high-end flagship functionality in this phone at a fraction of the price. As I said, in this market, it's about 40% less than the Galaxy S5. And then if you said specifically, what are the things you're highlighting? I think ease of use. I think the broad ecosystem that Microsoft has, and just take the OneDrive capability where you synchronize it. And by the way, for every device you get, is it 15 gigs? 15 gigs of OneDrive space in there, and it really creates the magic there. So those are the things. Live tiles is another one. And this is one, I was in an AT&T store in the US and was talking to one of the reps, and he said, you're not telling this story right. Because we talk about live tiles, and you guys have all seen live tiles, right? I'll pull out my phone here. and maybe some market share data will come across. But you get the live tiles and updates, and this person was saying, you're getting that wrong. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, sure, it gives you updates over static icons like iOS or Android. But he said the real beauty is the way you integrate the People Hub into it. So he went to his People Hub, and he said, look, I forget what it was. He said, I have 84 people in my social network. These are my friends and acquaintances. But he said there's 12 that are my best friends. So he said, I create a group with the 84, but I create a subgroup of the 12. I pin that tile on my front screen. I can group text them, group email them. I see all their social updates coming in from Twitter, Facebook, etc. He said, that's the magic of it. They said, you don't tell that, right? And so when you're looking at do we have compelling things? That's it. But he was right. We just talk about live tiles, you get to see updates. He was like, no, when you integrate that with the People Hub, you get this magic where you can create these different groups, family, he had his best friends. And so he said, now I'm able to take my big social network. By the way, he had 84 friends, and remember what I told you? I didn't have anywhere near that. I think we said 0, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But, and then narrow it down. And so that to me is a great example of how Windows is differentiated and unique, but we have to tell that story better.